Bryce Miller is so close to returning to the Mariners rotation. What is going to happen when he is back? There's a lot of different things to discuss here. Welcome to Mariners Daily. My name is Sam Edwards. Thanks so much for joining me on the show. I appreciate you being here. If you haven't already, freaking subscribe. If you're listening to the show on Apple or Spotify, make sure you leave a 5-star review. I appreciate it. Let me know what you like about the show and let me know what you think we should do about this rotation situation. Bryce Miller is so close to being back. He just had his fourth start on this rehab journey, which started back in or he just had his yeah, sorry, he just had his fourth start, but it started way back. I mean, at the beginning of the season, he hasn't had his first MLB start so far. So he's been switching back between High A, the Everett Aqua Sox, and AAA Tacoma Rainers. Yeah, it's been going pretty well, and the velocity has been up, which has been fantastic. Just pitched on Wednesday night, going 5 innings, 2 hits given up, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts, 61 pitches, which is up from 53 pitches from his previous outing. He threw 38 strikes in this one, so a little bit less strikes than what we saw in the previous outing, despite the more pitches. He did struggle with a little bit of control, hence the 3 walks. Still effective, obviously, facing High A, so it's not exactly the result we're looking for in any rehab starts, really, unless he's getting like absolutely destroyed or he cannot find the zone whatsoever. Good to see Miller continue to progress in this rehab. He has said that he is ready to come. I would say come back to the majors. Obviously, he hasn't been in the majors this season, but return to the majors from the from last year. He's ready to go. And we've seen Miller kind of be overly optimistic before. Let's say, early on in spring training when they didn't even think he was going to need to rehab at all. And he was pretty confident that he was going to be totally okay. Whether the Mariners are just playing this super, super safe or if he really needed to, actually play it safe and sit out April for the most part, for the entire part. In reality, I don't know. I don't know what the situation was. It sounds like the Mariners are being pretty careful with a lot of their pitchers, which is good to see. In general, for a team that is expecting to contend, you do need to take this slow early on in the season. GM Justin Hollander did say that the team would likely use the full 30 days allowed for Miller on this rehab stint, which would mean he could get as many as 2 more starts in before returning to the Mariners. But they've also talked about bringing him back in this series, this upcoming 3-game series versus the White Sox that we've got going on this weekend. I I don't know what the right call is here. I honestly think they could use that 30 days, and maybe Hollander is saying that just to give themselves more time to decide on what they want to do with this rotation, which we need to get into. Let's get into it. This rotation has always been obviously the topic of conversation. The Mariners have always had a great rotation. Always had. I say always had. Obviously, we haven't always had a great rotation, but in recent history, the rotation has been the strength that Jerry Dipoto has built up and valued so much. They've always talked about, oh, we got to trade a pitcher for a bat, got to trade a pitcher for a bat, got to trade a pitcher for a bat. He has held on to majority of these guys, and yeah, rightfully so. This rotation is very good. They've done a great job. Now, with Miller coming back, we've seen Emerson Hancock, who, obviously has been the our knight in shining armor, the guy that has totally changed his entire approach, changed the arm angle, which created more effectiveness for the four seamer. And we've seen better control from him than we've ever seen in his career. The sweeper edition and the leaning on it versus he introduced it last year, but he's gotten way more comfortable with it clearly and throwing that four seamer at the top of the zone paired with the sweeper. It's been fantastic to see his dominance. It's been dominating. I mean, at the first couple of starts, it was like, what's going on here? Hancock is throwing high fastball and sweeper instead of the sinker and changeup that we've known from him. And he's proven it has not been effective. So he's changed up his repertoire. He's changed up his throwing angle and it's been really freaking effective. And then he just progressed as this season has gone along. As the first month, we're only in, it's May 8th as I'm recording this. He's been super effective, and it's been awesome to see. However, it makes the situation of the rotation that much more interesting. Luis Castillo has obviously not been very good. Yeah, 34 and a third innings pitched so far from the Rock, Luis Castillo, our Rock, only a 19.4 K percentage. Listen, I want to kind of compare him to last year. He was not amazing last year, but he was effective. He was good. He was above average. He was yeah, well, slightly above average, very slightly, a below 4 ERA and 180 innings pitched. He has been consistently a rock for this rotation that we can lean on. Yes, he did perform very poorly when he was not at home. This season, we have seen him perform bad no matter what. A 19.4 K percentage, which is not a huge drop off from last year, but it is a drop. He had a 21 K percentage last year, 19% this year, 8.1 walk percentage. That's 1.4%, 1.5% higher than last season. Home runs have not been a huge problem for him, but he is getting hit very hard. Only at 1.05 home runs per nine. That is going to rise for sure. 367 BABIP, I think, is proof. Shows that hard contact, and I don't think he's getting overly unlucky. Although I do think 367 is maybe a little high. It's a little high. I think it'll come down, but I think it's definitely going to be higher than last year, no matter what. 58.8 left on base percentage is very low. But honestly, bro, I don't even need to see any more. I don't need to see any more. We've seen his effectiveness or lack thereof. 6.29 ERA. And I know what you're thinking, but it's a 4.25 FIP. Yeah, it's because the homers haven't gotten to him yet. And I think the homers are going to start getting to him because he's got a freaking 12.4 barrel percentage, a 92.2 exit velocity given up, and a 49.6 hard hit percentage. Those are all terrible marks, worse than last year, which we saw a huge jump in those metrics last year for Castillo, giving up that much harder of contact. And like I said, he was good at home last year. He is not doing good at home this year. And the evidence, you don't even have to dig. This is barely even analysis. His four seamer is much worse this season. That's basically all you need to know. He's throwing the slider more and throwing the sinker a little bit less, but both pitches have not been amazing. The slider is probably getting a little bit unlucky when you look at the WOBA versus expected WOBA. But besides that, really, the main issue is the four seam fastball. He is throwing it 44% of the time, basically the same amount. It's got a 40.5 O swing percentage, not bad. 65.6 strike percentage, not terrible. 14.3 swinging strike percentage and a 10.2 called strike percentage, good for a 24.5 CSW. That is a couple percent lower, not a huge difference than last year. So I know what you're asking. What's the problem? It's the hard hit metrics. He is giving up a 392 WOBA and a 381 expected WOBA off of his four seam fastball per Baseball Savant. If you haven't been on Baseball Savant yet, freaking lock in, baby. Get over there. It's a great website for pitch like usage, things like that. The four seamer is just not good, man. Compared to last year, the WOBA, 392 WOBA this year, 291 last year. 381 expected WOBA and a 286 expected WOBA last year. Four seam is his number one pitch, and it's not performing well at all. It's performing terribly. That's it. That's all you need to know from Castillo. So what do we do about this rotation? Are we throwing Emerson in the bullpen? No, we shouldn't. He's been too freaking good. I think if he kept on that track that he was on those first couple of starts, like I described, then I think you could try and justify it and say, well, he hasn't been like crazy effective. He's getting a little lucky. Let's put him in the bullpen, the four seam and the sweeper. He'll dominate. It'll be great. And we need another arm anyways. I can kind of understand that thought process, and especially if you're trying to save his arm possibly because he doesn't, he hasn't pitched like full seasons. Maybe a transfer to the bullpen sometime in the middle of the season could be a good move for him. DFAing Castillo when he's making $22.75 million this season doesn't really make too much sense. I think Castillo to the bullpen might make the most sense. I think Castillo to the bullpen, or maybe a six-man rotation. Maybe there's the problem with this situation is that there is no obvious great solution because there's always a downside to all of these solutions. So, if you're coming at me in the comments and going, obviously we need to do this, or obviously we need to do this, it's like, let's pause for a second here. There's bad things to everything. Hancock to the bullpen means we don't get to watch Hancock start every fifth day. That's a bummer. That is going to hurt our team. It will hurt our team. He will still be effective in the bullpen, but he's not going to be as valuable to us. And it means that we have to keep watching Castillo start every fifth day. This is all with the premise of Miller returning, by the way, obviously, if you haven't followed along. DFA and Castillo. It's a lot of money to a guy that could still be effective eventually. I mean, I've been bad mouthing him for this episode, but he is because he's not been effective. He could return. He was effective last year. Just because he's giving up hard hits and just because the four seamer is not effective right now does not mean that it won't be effective. For the rest of the season doesn't mean that he is destined to be doomed. That's a valuable arm. I would say our rotation depth beyond Miller, Castillo, Hancock is very, very freaking thin, and I'll probably talk about that in another episode. But nobody in the minor leagues is really stepping up besides Cade Anderson, but I don't think he's ready yet. I think the best case scenario for him is probably going to get called up and in a bullpen role in like September, which I think is very fair for how limited of time he has had in the minors. Ryan Sloan is not ready. So nobody else is stepping up. Obviously, Sloan and Anderson are like, the top names that were like freaking ready to go. But the depth options, Randy Dobnak, Dane Dunning, nobody's stepping up right now. So you got to rely on the guys that you have. And it would be nice to be able to keep Luis Castillo on the team just in case to fill up some innings if we need it. We no longer have Logan Evans, who is not able to start, obviously out for the season. So you're kind of you're caught in this spot where you're like, okay, well, Miller has to start, and you want Hancock to start as well because he's been so freaking good. And you don't want Luis Castillo to start, but you want him to stay on the team because number one, you're paying him so much money, you might as well get some usage out of him. And number two, I don't think his stuff necessarily translates super well to the bullpen, but I think that might be our best option. I I don't want a six man. I don't want a six-man rotation that thins out our bullpen because it's already thin enough. Six man six man is not like the worst option. It just means that you're gonna get less starts from Wu, Kirby, Hancock. Obviously, Gilbert hasn't been amazing so far. The Mariners are one of those teams though where it's like a lot of guys are very good, so maybe you're not hurting your team that much by going to a six-man rotation and giving your guys more time to rest. Maybe that helps them out a little bit as well. Or do you throw Hancock in the bullpen because he can still be effective there? But then you're still relying on Luis Castillo to start every fifth day. At least with the six man, you only have to see Castillo every 6 days, and that's nicer. That's nice. Obviously, we'll see how Miller does. We saw him last season; he was very bad, but obviously was injured for most of the season. So we'll see what happens. We've seen the velocity fully return and do better early on in spring training and in the rehab. 98 miles per hour he can get up to. He's not sitting there, obviously, but he can get up to that point, which is really impressive. There's a lot of different options, and it's a little tough to break this down. I think I would say I would go with either see if you can do Castillo in the bullpen because you are thin over there. You are relying on random guys. The fact that you're grabbing Jose Suarez does not fill me with, confidence. The fact that Brash and Spire, two of your main dudes at the top there. Obviously, we still have Munoz, but two of those main guys that are relied upon for key innings are down right now. Hopefully, not going to be out for too long, but they're still out. So you got to rely on other people. And before that, we were still relying on people that you probably don't really want to lean on just yet. I'd rather see Alex Hoppy get more time in the minors, maybe be able to figure out those control issues, see how he can be effective long term before you promote him to the majors, before you throw him into the fire. I know we've seen some good strikeouts. We've seen a decent amount of strikeouts, which is great, but the control is still a problem from Hoppy. I would like to see Castillo in the bullpen. That's obviously the nicest option. That's great because then you keep him on the team. Yes, he's probably only throwing in garbage time, basically, but that's kind of all I really want Castillo for. I want him in garbage time, and I want him to be there in case another man goes down, which we've seen before. Obviously, last year, Kirby and Gilbert did not pitch full seasons. We didn't see 150 innings out of them. So obviously, I want to see them be able to last. And having a guy like Castillo on the team is valuable to have that depth because I would rather see Luis Castillo out there than freaking Dane Dunning, Randy Dobnak, whoever else you want to pull up. So that's kind of where I'm at. I'd love to hear where you guys are at. I probably spent too much time on this topic, but honestly, that's the most interesting part of this episode. So let's keep going. Injury update: we got Donovan close to coming back, which is huge for us. Obviously, he was so great early on in the season. He's been out since April 18th. The He's played only one game of rehab, which is kind of interesting that they're already talking about bringing him back even as close as this series versus the White Sox. He was so effective early on this season. 71 plate appearances, 3 home runs, 12 walk percentage, hitting 304, 437 on base, 518 slugging, 176 runs created plus. Yes, he was absolutely terrible on defense. I really hope that improves. 140 innings at third base so far in the majors this season, a -4 fielding run value, which is an overall defensive stat by Baseball Savant based on StatCast numbers. Yeah, I obviously you hope that defense returns, but having that bat back in the lineup would be huge. And Donovan's never been amazing defensively as well. Just a reminder, he's been average to slightly below average generally. So I'm not expecting him to be amazing, but having that bat back in the lineup would be freaking huge for this team. And we need an infielder. I mean, Will Wilson just went down. I mean, it feels like all of our depth options are going down. We've been relying on Leo Rivas long enough. So hopefully Donovan can come back soon, and hopefully they choose the right time for that. Robles should be close as well. He's kind of an interesting one because it's a weird spot. I don't really know where he fits. I guess you're going to send down Connor Joe. You might have to DFA Connor Joe, which I wouldn't love doing. He's been better than I thought he would be. 26 plate appearances, still has a homer, 11 walk percentage, hitting the ball hard. Out of 16 batted balls, he's got 2 barrels, which comes out to a 12.5 barrel percentage, a 50 hard hit percentage. I know these are all limited stats and more just like hard hit metrics, but he hasn't been good on the surface level, only hitting 174 with a 269 on base and a 348 slugging. I still am interested in what Joe can provide. I didn't expect anything from him, and he's done better than I thought he would. So that's kind of interesting, but Robles would kind of take his roster spot, you'd think, or maybe Johnny Pareda, who has not gotten much of a run really. He's only played 2 games, 5 plate appearances, does have 2 hits, which was cool to see. Does Garver make sense on this team? He's only like walked, and that's basically it. 56 plate appearances, a 19 walk percentage, which is great, but he's striking out 30% of the time, and he's only hitting 178 with a 200 slugging, 76 runs created plus. So like he's not doing anything. So like I don't know, man. Like maybe Garver should get DFA'd. Like maybe you rock Pareda for a little while. I don't know. I mean, Garver's walking, which is nice, and he's getting on base and he can do some stuff, but he's not doing much. So where does Robles fit on this team? I think you kind of have to send uh Connor Joe to wherever the heck or Pareda. I guess you don't need 3 catchers on the roster, so I'm guessing Pareda is the default guy that you send down to the minors. Then you don't have to DFA Connor Joe. You see what happens with Donovan as well. Donovan's super close apparently to getting promoted. So promoted or returning. So I don't know what's going to happen. I think Pareda and Connor Joe are the obvious options to get DFA'd or sent down slash both for these guys. So we'll see what happens. Like I said, Connor Joe has done better than I expected. Pareda did do very well in AAA and has not looked terrible throughout a base runner, so that's always good. And gotten 2 hits out of 5 plate appearances. So, they're both singles. It's not like he's hitting the crap out of the ball or anything, but he hasn't gotten much of an opportunity. So, but you don't need 3 catchers. So either Garver or Parede's got to be gone, and then probably Connor Joe, DFA'd most likely, which is not something that I love, but Robles will be nice if Robles gives us the defense that he needs to. So we shall see there. Finally, we've got a duel tonight. And I wasn't expecting to say this. If you told me before the season Emerson Hancock and Sean Burke of the Chicago White Sox would be dueling in a pitcher's duel, I would be like, "What? What are you talking about? Hancock and Sean Burke? What? Dueling? Yeah, bro. Dueling underdogs." These guys came into the season with no expectations. Hancock has been rough, and Burke was just it was just meh. He was just whatever last year with the White Sox. He was doing whatever. This season, he's doing much better. 39 innings pitched for him, a 20.5 K percentage. Not amazing, but only a 5.1 walk percentage, 272 ERA, and a 319 FIP. Hancock has been very freaking good. He's been better so far than Burke, but I'm curious to see how Burke does versus our lineup. Let's see how our lineup does versus Burke. He's been on a roll. Nobody expected this of him. We shall see what happens. I think Hancock has made more real changes to his arsenal and made more moves to improve than Burke has. And yeah, so I'm curious to see what happens. We shall see. I'm excited for this series. I really want us to see us take it to the team that we need to take it to. The White Sox have been better than previously expected, but the fact that we were able to win a series versus the Braves has me believing just a wee bit, just a little bit, getting me excited for this season and excited for this Mariners team to finally show what we are worth and what we are capable of. April is past, May is upon us. We're rolling. It's getting warmer out. Let's get ready, baby. I'll see you guys on Monday with a full recap of the weekend. Enjoy it. Have a good one. And have a good Mother's Day. Wish your mother a happy Mother's Day. Give her a hug. All right, guys. Have a good one.